They weren't family in the traditional sense, but they were a found family. They saw her not as Noah's sister, but as Rachel. They celebrated her victories, big and small, with genuine enthusiasm. They helped her move her business from her small apartment into a shared office space. They celebrated the day she hired her first employee. Her life, which had once felt so small and defined by someone else, began to expand. She took up yoga, finding a quiet strength in the poses and a clarity in the meditation. She started taking photographs again, but this time, the images were no longer just about light and shadow. They were about capturing the vibrancy and resilience she was discovering within herself. Then came the phone call. It was 2 years after the engagement party, and she was in the middle of a meeting with a new client. Her phone rang, and she saw the familiar name on the screen, Mom. She considered ignoring it, but something in her told her to answer. It was a shaky, unfamiliar voice on the other end. Rachel. It's Eleanor. Her mother never called her by her full name. A cold dread settled in Rachel's stomach. Mom, what's wrong? It's Noah, her mother said, her voice cracking. He called off the wedding. A week before. Clara left. We don't know what happened. He won't talk to us. He's just gone. We don't know what to do. He's not answering our calls. The sound of her mother's desperation was a jarring contrast to the silence of the past 2 years. Rachel listened, her mind racing. Noah, the golden boy, the one with the perfect life, was in a crisis. The carefully constructed facade of her family's happiness was crumbling. This was it. The moment she had, in some deep, dark part of her, always known would come. It wasn't a sense of triumph, not yet. It was a quiet, complex mix of sorrow for her brother's pain and a strange, powerful sense of vindication. For the first time, the roles were reversed. And Rachel was no longer the one in the shadow. Rachel hung up the phone, the world a sudden, dizzying kaleidoscope of emotions. There was no joy, only a profound sense of sadness for the brother she had once looked up to, and a chilling sense of dread. She knew, with a bone-deep certainty, that this was the moment they would turn to her. Not with an apology, not with understanding, but with an expectation that she, the shadow, would step in to fix their light. She didn't return their calls for a week. She worked, she meditated, and she talked it all through with Elena and Mark, her found family. They listened without judgment, letting her process the complex mix of feelings, the grief for what her family could have been, the anger at their past treatment, and the morbid curiosity about what had gone wrong with Noah and Clara. She finally called her mother back on the Friday before the wedding was supposed to happen. Eleanor's voice was strained, thick with panic. Rachel, thank God. He's home, but he won't come out of his room. He won't even talk to your father. He just sits there. Can you please come home? You're the only one he ever listened to. Rachel felt a bitter, hollow laugh bubble up in her chest. The only one he ever listened to. The irony was a sharp, cutting blade. I can't, Rachel said, her voice steady. I have my launch party tomorrow. I've been working on this for months. It's for my biggest client yet. Her mother was silent for a moment, a rare state for her. Then, the familiar tone of dismissal crept into her voice. Rachel, this is your brother's life. Your career, that can wait. It's not the same. Please. We need you. No, Rachel said, her voice firm, final. I can't be there. He made his bed. He needs to lie in it. And she hung up. The decision was made. The empty chair at their table would remain empty. The next day, Rachel's launch party for her new corporate identity project was a triumph. The venue was a chic, industrial loft downtown. The space was filled with her designs, logos, branding mock-ups, and stunning photographs she had taken to capture the company's new direction. People milled about, their voices a low, excited murmur as they praised her work. Elena and Mark were there, their faces shining with pride. In the middle of the party, her phone buzzed with a message from her father. It was a single, curt sentence: "You have chosen to abandon your family." She read it, and for a moment, she felt a familiar pang of guilt, a whisper of the girl who just wanted to be seen. But then she looked around the room. This was her space, filled with people who saw her. Her accomplishments weren't footnotes, they were the entire story. She thought of Noah, alone and miserable, and for the first time, she understood. His entire life had been built on a foundation of unearned privilege, and when it crumbled, there was nothing to hold him up. He had never had to build his own life, it had simply been given to him. This wasn't about revenge. This was about justice. The justice of a world where effort and hard work mattered more than a name or a family legacy. Later that night, long after the party had ended and she was home, exhausted and exhilarated, she listened to the voicemail. It was from Noah. His voice was raw, broken, and devoid of the usual charm. "Rachel, it's me. I don't know what to do." Clara said. She said she couldn't be with someone who's just a product of his parents' expectations. She said I had no real substance. No light of my own. There was a long, shuddering silence, and then he continued, his voice barely a whisper. "You remember that speech I gave? The one at the party? I thought it was so clever. The shadow in my light. She heard me say that to you. And she told me that night that she didn't want to be with a man who could treat his own sister that way. She said you were the one who had the real light. The real grit. And she was right." The voicemail ended. Rachel stood there in the quiet of her apartment, the silence now filled with the weight of his confession. There were no triumphant cheers, no feeling of victory. Just a quiet, profound sadness. Her brother had been a ghost, too, haunted by the very light he so effortlessly commanded. He just hadn't realized it until it was gone. The empty chair at the Thanksgiving table was a symbol of her absence, yes. But it was also a symbol of her presence. By walking away, she had finally become visible. By creating her own life, she had not only found her own light, but she had also revealed the depth of her brother's shadow. Her revenge wasn't a cruel act, it was a simple act of existence. By living her truth, she had forced them to finally see her for who she was, even if it was in the most painful way imaginable. She was no longer a shadow. She was a woman, and her story had just begun.